This is Raina Campbell, your Chief Dream Driver, and welcome to the No Parking Podcast, where through conversations and discussions with creators like yourself, we'll find interesting approaches to help you take your dreams out of park, put them in drive, and ride towards success. Welcome to episode 5 of the No Parking Podcast. What if I told you that the secret to getting rich or seeing long-term success in your business is connected to your mindset? Would you believe me? In today's episode, we're going to be chatting with Dr. Roshawnna Novellus, a finance expert, author, investor, and yoga enthusiast that helps entrepreneurs build wealth. She is the president and founder of Novellus Financial and The Wealthy Yogi. So Dr. Novellus talked all about, shifting your mindset so that you can be rich, so that you can be successful. And we went through some different tactics and techniques that you can use in your own life to start living with intention and creating the life that you want. Enjoy. Roshawnna, can you tell me a little bit about who you were as a young child? If somebody were to say, Roshawnna, the little girl, she was blank, how would you describe that?
I was very determined. I love to perform. My mother started me in dance when I was 4, so I always was doing some kind of dancing extracurricular activity. And I love to read. So I read books all the time. And even in junior high school, I had this book reading competition with my friends. So I always loved learning. I always loved performing. And I was kind of a serious kid.
What do you mean by that?
I was a person who was in charge of making sure all my friends followed the rules that the adults gave us. So they would say, Roshawnna, make sure everyone does this, that, and the other. Okay, we're trusting you. And I'm like, I'm the same age as them. I'll always say that to adults. Why am I in charge? Because we know you're going to do the right thing. So it was clear that was that kind of person. And I still pretty much am.
That's so interesting that you say that because, over the years, I've interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs, and there seems like there's a common theme with people who are successful when they're older. Sometimes there's some of those traits from when you're younger that you might not realize how will manifest when you're older. But do you see any themes from your childhood kind of play out now as an adult?
Yeah, when I was a child, I made decisions. I was very intentional about the things that I wanted. And I learned that from a young age. So I remember my parents used to take me and my siblings, to Las Vegas. And I always wanted to save all of my money from our trip. So they would give us money to go play in the casino. I mean, what is it called? The arcades all day. And I said, you know what? I'm going to just watch the other kids have fun so that I can keep my money and save it for something else that will last longer. And I've been that way ever since. But I remember one of my brothers why did she get more money the next day? She still has all the money that she was allotted the previous day. And I said, and my parents were like, well, that was her decision. She decided to save it. So we can't punish your sister because, that's how she decided to spend her day, was watching other kids, but yeah, I've always been a certain way, and I know that how your personality is as a child really, shapes how you live life. So.
All right, that's so funny that you said that because I just came from Las Vegas. I was on a work trip there for the first time. I came back yesterday, and my coworkers were all playing in the casino, and I was the girl behind them like, maybe you should leave now while you're still ahead. So
right.
I definitely relate to you in that one.
Right. And you can have a lot of fun, participating in other people's energy. So I said, hey, that's enough for me.
Yeah, you knew what you did well. You were like, you don't need to do that part. Right. So tell me how. I know that you have lots of accolades. You have a Doctor of Science in Systems Engineering, and a minor in Finance from GW, from George Washington University. But tell me, how did you know? Well, I should say, let's back up a little bit. Tell me how you picked those majors when you were in school, and then how did that kind of evolve into what you're doing now?
It's funny. I always loved math. I was the person who was in calculus in 10th grade in high school. So I always loved math and I always loved finance. My mother started taking me to investment club meetings when I was 12. So I always liked both sides. So the engineering or the math and the finance side. And actually, my calculus teacher, she told me I should be an engineer. So I was like, okay. I started off as electrical engineering and business, double major in undergrad, and I kind of tweaked that over a period of time. But I always liked both sides. So I was fortunate to learn how to program when I was in kindergarten. So I always knew how to think logically, and that's why I actually ended up double majoring in computer engineering and business economics in undergrad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said I want to learn more, so that I went to RPI and studied information technology. So that's still part of the tech side. And then for my doctorate, like you said, I focused on systems engineering and finance, because that was what my interests were. So while I was finishing my doctorate, I also worked full time, first in research, then in management consulting. On both sides, my coworkers used to always ask me, Roshawnna, can you help me with my 401k? Can you help me decide what kind of house I should buy? Can you go with me to closing? I went to so many of my friends' closings for their first house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, well, if this is like my natural knack to help people in this way, maybe I should figure out a way to transition from the engineering side to the finance side. And about 5 years ago, I decided it was time for me to do that. I decided, hey, I'm ready to be an entrepreneur and I want to help as many people as possible. And the lack of financial literacy is a huge problem in this country. You know, money causes stress, it causes divorce, it causes people not to follow their dreams. So I just decided that that was a way to impact more people by teaching them finance and showing them a way to realize their dreams.
So, what were some of the first, like some of the struggles that you faced as you made that transition and started doing, had your own firm?
There are many struggles. Number one, people identified me as an entrepreneur, as an engineer. I'm sorry. People identified me as an engineer more than a finance person. So I had to create a new identity. So that was unknown to me beforehand. Also, I didn't realize that entrepreneurs have to wear so many hats. When you work for someone else, you can be in charge of only business development, only execution. But starting your own firm, you have to be in charge of marketing, customer service, HR, execution, quality control, etc. So I didn't realize that there would be so many hats, or I underestimated like how the balancing act that I would have to do by wearing so many hats. And that reinforced the mindfulness practice that I also talked about. So what we have to do when we are navigating through life is make decisions from a place of peace. And having so many hats when I started being an entrepreneur really enforced the need to do that.
So, let's talk about that, making decisions from a place of peace. How does one do that, and what does that mean?
So there are many ways. I like to meditate, work out, um, go on walks. So we all have activities that we participate on it in that relax us and make us feel like we're enjoying the present moment. A lot of times people live in the past or they live in the future. So you don't want to be one of those I'll be happy when people, right? I'll be happy when my business is here. I'll be happy when, etc. Like it's good to have goals and to be going towards a certain path, but you need to be able to be centered and know where you are today and be peaceful for where you are today. So once you figure out that peace, either through, like I said, fitness or meditation or whatever activity like makes you feel calm. If you're an artist, maybe paint some art. And then you can say, hey, what things are really important to me? A lot of times people make financial decisions based on other people's expectations or other people's goals or trying to be part of a certain group or because they have anxiety. However, none of those are valid reasons to make decisions. You should make decisions based on your own personal goals, where you are in your life, and what's best for your current situation. And once you're able to extract and push out all that extra noise, it's easier for you to figure out what that is for you.
So, how did this play out in your own life? How did practicing, this mindfulness help you grow your business?
Right. So I use the mindfulness practice as much as possible. I was a typical type A, overcommitted person. I still do a lot, but
Hmm.
I was one of these people who never figured or never thought that I was doing enough before. So if I worked, 18 hours a day, I could have worked 19 hours. So I really was unhappy when I was a consultant because I worked so much. And even when I received accolades or awards, I wasn't really satisfied. So when I started my company, I noticed I was doing some of the same things. A lot of people start their own business because they feel like, oh, I'm going to be free. I can do whatever I want. And I'm like, I feel the same way as I did when I was working for someone else. Something's got to change. So, and I've always really liked yoga and really enjoyed fitness, but I compartmentalized that part of my life. So I wake up every morning still to this day around 5 or 5:30 and I go work out, and I said, this peace that I feel when I work out and when I meditate, there must be some way to integrate that into the rest of my life. So at this point, when I feel like I'm stressed or worried, I try to take a break, breathe, do gratitude exercises, do a short meditation, and kind of do an assessment of where I am now and make sure that I'm, moving in accordance with my objectives. Because a lot of times we think that we can accomplish everything by brute force. Like I'll do more calling or more social media or more whatever to grow the business. But a lot of times you need to just be more strategic and actually work smarter, not harder. You've heard this. And so I find that with the mindfulness practice is easier to figure out what the work smarter is.
Oh, no, that seems so interesting, and I think that kind of goes with your tagline of being the wealthy yogi, right? Is that true?
Yes. So about 2 years ago, I went to Thailand to get my yoga certification. And I was luckily able to go there for 6 weeks. And I said, I must be able to integrate this concept of peace and mindfulness into finance. And a lot of people are very confused about it. But as I just discussed with you, I believe that all financial decisions should be made from a place of peace and calm. And when you make decisions from that place, you're generally happier, you're more successful, and you don't waste time deliberating. Because we waste a lot of time when we make decisions, kind of, if what should I do this? What if this? What. But if you make a decision from the right place, then things usually work out better. And there are many studies and statistics that agree with this statement. So, but yeah, that's where the wealthy yogi comes from.
So, question, and this might, please excuse my ignorance if this sounds a little silly. So, would you say that, so when you work with your clients, you're a business, well, what would you describe the work that you do with clients then? I know that you have Novellus Financial, but is the Wealthy Yogi a separate practice or do you mix the two?
Well, with Novellus Financial, I provide business consulting and tax strategy for high end businesses. So I am more in the CFO role or provide the strategic analysis role. However, my clients know that I um, believe in this mindfulness work, and that usually attracts the clients to that side of the business. For the wealthy yogi, I do teach yoga classes, I do have retreats, but all of these classes and retreats and online courses do integrate both the finance and the yoga side. So they're just more wellness, more finance in the wealthy yogi. side. For instance, I just had a retreat, and I intend to have a retreat every quarter. And we have both meditation, yoga asana practice, financial strategy practice, and mastermind practice all in the same retreat. So you get both sides. So that's the difference between Novellus Financial Services and the Wealthy Yogi offerings.
And where does your retreat take place?
I've been having them here in Atlanta, but I hope to expand to other areas in the future.
Okay, no, that sounds so interesting. And a lot of our dream drivers, we all have like particular niches within the whole lifestyle fields. How did you find your clients? Because what you're doing is very specific, right? So how
Right.
did you find those first clients and build and remain or build your clientele list?
My first clients were actually found through networking events, referrals, and friends. And then since then, I've grown my business through social media. I've found a lot of clients through LinkedIn specifically, and they read my blog articles and read my story, and usually reach out to me to figure out my perspective. It's new, it's different, and that's how I've been able to grow my company.
Okay, that's just something that a lot of people we all do it in separate ways, but it's so important to understand how you can use social media and the different avenues that you talked about. But let's get to the topic of how to stay in business long enough to get rich. And as you know, a lot of people give up on their businesses. What's that? There's a statistic that says most of entrepreneurs fail within like the first year or less than a year.
Yes.
Why do you think a lot of people give up when they're starting
Well,
their businesses?
there are many reasons. Number one, we're used to having more of a linear process. When we work for someone else, you have two or three tasks and you do those tasks in a timeline. Someone else is creating the whole infrastructure for you. But when you have your own business, like, things don't go as planned. There's so many extreme ebbs and flows, and you really have to be in charge of your emotions and believe in your goals and stick to your path, even though there's chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard for people to make the shift between the very structured job world to the unpredictable entrepreneur space. So that's one of the reasons that a lot of people just give up. Number two, the revenue, right? Like, we're used to getting a paycheck every week, every other week, whatever. And depending on the business, if you're doing a technology or creating a product, it could take 2 years, right, to get any revenue. Or depending on the lead time, you may have to court clients for 3 to 6 months before you get a paycheck, and you're working and you're doing all this effort and you don't have that immediate gratification or immediate monetary reward. And it can seem like what you're doing doesn't really matter, or it's not important. So we have to change our mindset to being okay with delayed gratification. We can still be very successful and have a great business, even if it takes some time to reach those revenue numbers. Um, Also, we let other people that are not entrepreneurs dissuade us.
Mm-hmm.
So
Most
a lot of
definitely.
So a lot of times we don't affiliate with the right people. So your work friends, they're wonderful, they're supportive, but you don't need to ask them for advice about running your business. You need to seek people who have the experience, have the knowledge, create an accountability group. So whether that's through a mastermind or an informal entrepreneur accountability group, so that you can succeed. You need to have the right people around you to help you through your problems, to let you vent and have constructive and encouraging feedback towards you. So again, a lot of people ask advice from the wrong people. And the last one that I'll mention is, we don't think about partnering with other businesses. So it's all about distribution and how many people receive your message. And there are tons of wonderful entrepreneurs out there that might have complementary services or product offerings. And that is one of the best ways to grow your business and expand, is just to find partnership opportunities with other companies. So a lot of times we like to stay in our own box and we don't think about, that we can have community in different ways with other business owners and grow from that.
So let's talk. I'm going to work backwards since this is the last
Okay.
one that you mentioned, but how does distribution look like for you? How do you partner with other businesses and grow both your business and your partner's business?
So I actually do partner with a marketing company. So with a lot of new businesses, we do strategy consulting for businesses that want to grow, expand, hire employees. And I'll look at the operations and finance side, and my partner business will look at the marketing side, because if you have finance, operations, and marketing together, you should be able to reach your goals. So we do joint strategy sessions and come up with joint plans to help businesses succeed. So that helps both of us,
And
right?
then, yeah, I get that. And then when you're saying, you have to seek the right people, I know a lot of people, one thing a lot of our dream drivers often ask is, how do they build their network? How do they find those right people? I know even personally for me, I've been on the look for a mentor, someone that can really guide me in like the podcasting world and that sphere. But what would you recommend, aspiring entrepreneurs to do if they want to start building their network and having people that they can affiliate with that can help them, be the right, well, if they want to have people that are the right people to affiliate with?
It's really a trial and error kind of process, but first you have to be in the same space where other people are that you admire or that you want to be like. So if that's some kind of entrepreneur meetup group or conference or something industry specific. And then I definitely believe that you should have a goal of aligning yourself with people who have different experience than you and are more successful than you. So a lot of the people that are in my personal mastermind, I met them at, let's say, different networking events or yeah, for the most part, different networking events or a business club that I'm affiliated with. And it took a while to build that relationship. You don't meet someone day one and decide that they're qualified to be your mentor or advisor. You have to nurture the relationship and then decide if that person is the right person for you. And sometimes you have formal advisors or formal mastermind groups, and sometimes you have informal ones. But you have to use your intuition and evidence and their experience and then decide what's best for you. And hopefully you can decide mutually that you want to build this relationship together.
And was there a time that you kind of messed up in the networking realm, or was there a time when you realized that the people around you, you had to change your circle in order to start making, in order to start accomplishing your goals?
Yes. So I really believe in looking at people's energy, right? So if I was around several entrepreneurs who are always complaining about how everything wasn't going as planned, like constantly, constantly, constantly. And I said, well, I can't be around this because this is affecting me. And I'm thinking of things I should complain about, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
had to make a decision to say, hey, I can't really be around this group of people or group of entrepreneurs because it's negatively affecting my own business. So I need to find a different group. And that's okay. Like sometimes, we all know about some people in your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime, but the same with other businesses or other partnerships. We all grow at different rates. So it's fine if you start off with aligning yourself with all brand new entrepreneurs. But say a year goes by and one entrepreneur has 10 employees, the other one still has a full-time job and hasn't really made any sales, and the third one is still not fully invested in their business emotionally, though that group might not be right for each other anymore, right? So in my case, I had to say, hey, I only want to be in a mastermind group with people who have been full-time for at least 4 years, who've had these revenue goals, and who have a really positive outlook on life, because that's what works for me. So, yes.
And once you did that, how did your business change once you made that shift?
Well, there's an immediate increase in revenue. Masterminds in general increase your business revenue by like 30%, but there was an increase in revenue. I was more comfortable in my mindset because being around people, there's a difference between being confident in where you are and questioning where you are. And once you reach the 4-year mark in business, as you mentioned, most businesses fail within that period of time. You're pretty confident in your business. You're really not ready to quit. You're just ready to be more strategic. So the discussion or topics of discussions change. So we're just all talked about different strategies, and we all pour into each other. And I noticed an instant calm that came over me in some of the areas that I was questioning, and it helped me execute better.
I had to write that down. There's a difference between being confident and questioning your business. And I think that's something that a lot of our dream drivers at this stage are in. They're in that questioning stage where they don't know if they're making the right choices. They don't know if like it's even, if pursuing their dreams and their passions and their talents is something that's worthwhile. What advice would you give to someone who's still in that questioning stage? How can they figure out if this is something that they should stick with or if they should go back to their 9 to 5?
Well, I think that pursuing your dreams are always worthwhile. And if you're going to do it, you have to go all the way, right? You can't expect to have full time success in business giving it half of your effort or half of your focus, right? So you have to just decide. And even if it doesn't work out, you gave it your best shot. What you don't want to do is say, oh, you quit before you even fully try anything. None of us have a crystal ball to predict every single answer to the question. So none of us know every single thing that we need to do to be successful in business. But what you should be able to do is say, hey, I'm going to try different things. I'm going to do beta testing to see what works. I'll change my market if this market that I start with doesn't appreciate my product. You have to be willing to change and go with the flow. And if you think that you can't handle like 100% of your plan not going the way that you want, then you probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur. But if you really want to go for it and try. Just try. Just start, just pick something and go for it. And like I said, you can get advice from people who are more knowledgeable than you, people with experience, and other qualified individuals. But still, that advice might not necessarily yield the perfect outcome for your business. But what is important is that you're trying something and you're eliminating things that don't work. You're honing in on what does work for your business, and you just roll with it and go with it.
Oh my gosh, roll with it and grow with it. Roll with it and grow. No, I'm messing it up now. Roll with it and grow with it. Is that what you said, or go with it? Which
I said go, but grow works too. That sounds great.
that could be a new tagline. Wealthy Yogi, roll with it, grow with it. Maybe that could be a session at your next retreat or something.
Yeah, that sounds great.
You could actually literally roll, do some types of stretches.
That's true. That's true. You giving me lots of ideas. Perfect.
And then the last note I had here, and you talked about the whole idea of delayed gratification and how a lot of people aren't really, they're not okay with the success coming later. But at the same time, one of the things that I do think is important is that you kind of have to set yourself up so that if success doesn't come later, you can still kind of stay afloat, right? And I know with finances, there's some things that you can do so that you are, being financially smart when you're investing in your business or during the first stages. But do you have any tools or tips for people so that they can stay afloat even if success hasn't come yet?
Well, first of all, people need to figure out who is their paying customer. A lot of businesses do not start with that premise. They start on their, talents or creativity, but they don't realize who's going to pay them. So businesses need to figure out who's going to pay them and how long it's going to take first, right? Then after that, that will show them how much they need to have in reserve. So if it's going to take, let's say, 6 months or 2 years, you'll know then that you need to figure out your finance or capital requirements for that period of time. So that's the number one reason I think that businesses are unprepared, is they don't do that simple exercise for who their target customer is and how long it's going to take them to convert into revenue. And there are many things that an entrepreneur can do, but that will give the entrepreneur realistic expectations of what money they need to have available. One suggestion that I have for entrepreneurs who are transitioning from corporate America to full-time entrepreneurship is get that line of credit, that business loan, before leaving your job. It's much easier to qualify for a business loan or a line of credit when you have that W-2 income. Entrepreneurs have a much more difficult time qualifying for credit, and you don't have to use it, but it's great to have that cushion if necessary. Also, figure out your strategy for financing your business. So, are you going to have outside investors? Are you going to be self-financed? Are you going to have a side hustle to pay for all of your business expenses? Figure that out before you jump in so that you know where the money is coming from, so you're not worried about the money side when you need to be focused on your business and making sure your creativity of what you're doing is successful.
So that kind of goes back to the whole idea of being mindful, because if you're stressing about money and where your next paycheck's going to come from, you really can't grow your business in the way that you would if you were at peace, right?
Right, exactly.
And one of the things that I wanted to ask you in that whole along that subject is, so let's say you have you know who your paying customer is. So for example, I'll use myself as an example. At one point, I really wanted to work with clients doing their email marketing, right? And I had it. I understood what type of businesses that I could target. But then what happened to me was I wasn't confident in then and then asking the paying customer to actually pay me. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you have to get over that.
Yeah.
And it takes a while. I also experienced that. And it took me like going through a lot of my reserves to get over it. For instance, I require people to pay me up front before I get started, right? And when I first started my business, I would wait to the end or wait until I did 80% of work before I sent someone an invoice, and they would be upset sometimes or not have the full perspective. And I realized I was doing both of us a disservice, right? So once you realize what you're worth, it's easier for you to be confident and to articulate the value of your services to your clients. And when you're confident, you make more money. And you don't want to do work and not get paid for it or get paid for it later. No, you deserve to get paid now. So once you're saying, what do I deserve as a person? And you treat yourself accordingly, then it's much easier for you to overcome those self-confidence kind of issues and blockages.
I like that when you said when you're confident, you get paid more. And that's something that I've been reading up on, because I was reading something and they say that women sometimes are less confident than men. So even like when in negotiating or just in the whole job realm, a lot of men may ask for raises before women will. Or, a lot of male entrepreneurs will be more assertive with their business. How do you, and you're a woman, so I'm going to ask you this.
Okay.
How would you recommend that women, get out of that mindset that sometimes we've been kind of programmed to be, less assertive than men?
Well, one of my secrets is just to ask a man what would he do and copy it. For one job offer I had, it was really a great job offer. But like you said, it said most women don't ask for more money. I was really happy with the job offer, but I said, oh, I'm not going to be one of those females. So I went in and I said, I need additional $10,000. And they gave it to me. And I was totally okay with the initial offer. And I was like, see, I wouldn't have asked, but I didn't want to be in this group. And even with business, sometimes I actually had one client who I submitted a proposal to, and he was very mindful and very supportive. And he told me, Roshawnna, I'm going to give this proposal back to you. You need to charge me at least 3 times what you've asked for. And this still to this day, this is the only client that did that. But he was like, why are you undervaluing what you do? Like, don't do that anymore. So I had a client tell me that, and it really, affected me. But even now, when I get nervous sending people a high ticket invoice, I just ask one of my male counterparts, what does this number look to you? They're like, you're worth it. This is your value. You stick with your value, not other people's perceived worth. And if your value exceeds the price, then you'll get paid. And that's what works.
I'm over here snapping silently though, just because I don't want it to get picked up on the mic. No, it's so true because and once you get that, we talked about how to stay in business long enough to get rich, but those are some things that if you look at people who are very successful, they've had to overcome this and they've had to really become they had to have that boss mentality in some ways. And when you were talking about being confident, I don't know why, but the first person that came to mind, I think I'm on his Instagram too much, was P. Diddy.
Okay.
And you know how he's so like about his business.
Yes.
And to me, he gives off this whole persona of you're not going to F with me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think that's something that a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs, sometimes you have to fake it until you make it, right? You might not wholeheartedly believe it yet, but if you at least start telling yourself that, then eventually you'll start believing it. That's something that I've been doing, and a lot of our dream drivers have been practicing, is the whole idea of telling yourself, like waking up and kind of having those affirmations and saying, yes, this is me and I can do it.
Right. And just to piggyback on that, like I have my confidence outfits, right? So I have certain outfits when I wear these dresses with these high heel shoes, I always get paid more. And I've done the statistical analysis. So I say, if I'm feeling sensitive this day or feeling not, I'm like, I'm putting on one of these outfits and going to the business meeting. It works every time. So we might have, our lucky glasses or whatever that we have that make us feel more confident, more unique, more us. So I say, use what you have, use the tools that make you feel like you're your best self and go out in the world as your best self when you're trying to do business. Just with listening to what other people say about you, like unless it's really trying to help you make more money or become a better person, is usually irrelevant. Mm-hmm. Like you shouldn't even pay attention at all. But if, like you said, if it's something that you're saying, oh yeah, I'm really good at talking to others and I can leverage this into my business, hey, but have the positive mindset, right? Don't let other people steal your energy, your positivity, and your power. Because, it's hard enough navigating this world. So you have to be very protective of that energy and try not to let other people put you in this place where you're, second guessing yourself. You are who you are, and you're strong and you're confident and you're wonderful just as you are. So not everyone doesn't have to get it. Everyone doesn't have to understand. But as I mentioned before, unless this person is trying to make you grow and be a better person or have a direct path to getting you more revenue, then, it's not worth your energy to pay attention.
Definitely. So I want to wind down a little bit. Okay. So the question I want to ask you, Roshawnna, is, was there ever a time when you felt like giving up? And if so, how did you bounce back? Because the whole theme of our podcast is no parking. Keep going through rough times. Keep your dreams and drive. Tell me about a time when you might have, hit a wall and didn't know if you should reverse and keep going or just stay there.
Yeah, so shortly after I quit my job and became a full-time entrepreneur, I partnered with another full-time entrepreneur. And she's very social, very dynamic, and she's great at marketing and sales. And I'm great at the operations, logistics, and all that. So it appeared on paper that we would be a perfect partnership, right? It crashed and burned within 3 months. So all this time, energy, money was gone. And for a period of time, I felt pity, but I knew if I would let that sadness or, that brief failure overcome me, that I would be so much more disappointed. So I like pushed through it. I said, hey, we're separating our partnership. I'm going to start a new company on my own within 3 weeks. And I'm not going to let this stop me because I don't want to stop now. I'm not ready. Just because this thing happened to me doesn't mean that everything's going to fail. And I pushed through it, and I was able to have a new office space, new website, new everything within 3 weeks. But I knew I had to. I knew it was like, if I would quit right then I would just feel horrible, and and always wonder if I could do it. Right. So that was the first the first time in business where I felt that, and that was right after I started.
So what keeps you going now? Like what do you look forward to in the future of your business or for the future of your business?
Well, I look forward to helping more people. So I look forward to having the larger retreats and helping people realize that they can grant their own wishes and their own dreams. So I look forward to publishing more books and doing more TV kind of opportunities so that I can educate and inspire as many other people as possible.
Thank you, Roshawnna. Where can our dream drivers learn more about you or get some of access to your resources and materials?
Yeah, for the medium-sized business, they can go to novellusfinancial.com. And for the person, the everyday entrepreneur who's more interested in yoga and retreats and mindfulness, they can go to thewealthyyogi.com. I also just recently published Budgeting is More Liberation Than Limitation, which includes the mindfulness and the financial elements that we discussed. And that can also be found at thewealthyyogi.com. And they can find me on Instagram and Twitter and all the social media at the same handle.
All right, and I'll include a link to that in our show notes at
Okay.
dreamsanddrive.com too.
Okay.
So, right, let's get to the lightning round. So, as you know, Roshawnna, Dreams and Drive is all about putting your dreams in drive, no parking, and just allowing yourself to build your brand in a way that's going to keep you moving forward. So, we have this whole metaphor, excuse me, of the car. You think of a car, you think of driving. So
Mm-hmm.
let's think of the gear shifts: park, reverse, neutral, drive. I'm going to say each one, and you tell me the first thing that comes to mind, okay? All
Oh,
right.
okay.
So, park,
Eating,
reverse,
wallowing,
neutral,
peace,
drive.
strategy.
All right. Thank you so much, Roshawnna, for being our guest today. We really, really enjoyed this episode, or I should say I enjoyed it because no one has listened to it yet.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. This was great.
Yeah, and it's something I've been. This whole Dreams and Drive has been something that I've really done over the past. Well, I launched it January 1st. I was doing stuff on my own site, RainaCampbell.com, and
Hmm.
I was writing for Madame Noir and other online outlets. But it was kind of like we were talking about earlier about being confident. I think I wasn't, and I knew that I loved talking to people, but I wasn't really letting other people see that passion and talent of mine because I was doing it all on the web, so I could kind of hide behind my
Right.
words. So this has been a really good practice for me in helping me even and put my dreams in drive. So thank you for
Oh,
helping me do
perfect.
that.
Perfect. Perfect. So, what is your favorite part about hosting a podcast?
My favorite part would be, I think just being able to go off on tangents, and being able not to have to stick to an extreme script. At least me, I allow it to kind of take full form. I don't like to draft too many questions. There are some questions that I ask everyone, like the things about, growing up as a child and your challenges you face. But I like to listen to people's stories, and I think that's something that you can really get in depth in a podcast, and you can hear people's voice. You can hear how they light up over, just they light up when they're saying different things, and I can kind of see it too. I can visualize you speaking. So that's my favorite part, is just being able to expand and not have to have just short answers. If you're doing something that's on, like, just words in an article, you have to kind of synthesize everything, and I think podcast is more long form.
Right. Right. Okay.
And I like being able to ask people to come on the show, looking for guests and trying to pitch them. I think I've had some like really lofty goals, like some of the people that I have on my like dream list. One day.
You'll get there. Believe, and it will happen. You'll get there.
Thank you for checking out episode 5 of the No Parking Podcast. Make sure to go to dreamsanddrive.com to get today's show notes. And if you're listening on iTunes, SoundCloud, make sure to rate, comment, and review us so that more people can learn about the Dreams and Drive mission. I enjoy all of you guys. I enjoy talking to you. I enjoy interviewing our guests. And I just want to make sure that we can grow this community. See you guys later. Bye-bye.